Episode 15.
Thanks for listening to today's show. We really appreciate you. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show so that you don't miss an episode, and to help make sure that others don't miss the boat.
Welcome to the Telltale Fisherman podcast, where avid anglers share the story of their best fishing day ever to inspire yours. Now it's time for another epic adventure. So here's your host, John Woodson.
Well, welcome to the show. Today's guest is Dennis Bombom, coming to us from Denmark. Hi, Dennis.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very good. And how are you?
I'm awesome, and really excited to hear about fishing in Denmark. And we'll get to that in just a minute here. But why don't you just start out by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, it's quite some years ago, actually. Back when I was only 5 years old, I think my mom and my grandparents, they used to take me out on their little boat fishing for cod, and it was only the fishing line. We held it in hands, and then we were jigging on the bottom, and we caught the cod, and then we went home and cleaned it and cooked it, and they ate it. I never liked fish, so yeah, that's a bit odd, I think.
Well, I'm kind of in the same boat you are. I actually have a shellfish and fish allergies, so I love to catch them, but can rarely eat them. So
it's for the sport.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So was that fishing out in a bay or in the ocean, or where'd you do that kind of fishing?
No, that was in the ocean, and saltwater fishing only.
Okay.
So then later on, when I was allowed to go out on my own, I went to this small pond right around where we lived, and I fished there for pikes and perch, and that was pretty funny. It was very low key back then. We had one lure and a rod and one reel with way too thick fishing line on it.
But you still caught stuff.
I did.
So you freshwater fishing for pike. Are there other freshwater species there in Denmark that you fish for? Or?
Yeah, we have the zander, which is, I think, more or less the same. No, maybe not the same, but pretty similar to walleye.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we have the perch. That's the three main predators we fish for in Denmark, I think. And then we have carp. A lot of people fish for carp.
It seems like that's getting more popular.
It is. It is around. I think around Denmark, the countries, United Kingdom and Germany and further south, they fish a lot for pike. No, for carp.
Right.
And in Denmark they do too, but I don't.
Tell me a little bit about the pike you have over there. Are they similar to what we have on our side of the pond over here? Like we get in northern U.S. and in Canada.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the same. Then you have all the muskies, which we don't.
Okay.
We don't have here. We only have pike. Okay. I think one kind.
Yeah, and I don't know whether pike was introduced here from over there or vice versa. If it's the same species, do you know anything about that or?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you just know they're fun to catch, like me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen, the perch. I've seen perch in Australia. I've seen perch in Canada, and in Denmark, and all kinds of places in Europe. And they're all called perch, but they're not 100%. You can see it's the same fish, but they don't look alike 100%, which is pretty funny, I think.
Yeah. So you've had occasion to fish in a lot of different places. You mentioned Australia, and I guess other locations in Europe.
Yeah, I went to Australia to fish the Hobie Fishing World Championship, I think it's called.
Okay. Now, is that a saltwater tournament or freshwater?
It's I don't know, but I think it's brackish water. We fished for bream.
Oh, okay.
Bream, yeah. And it was up in some river system.
Right.
So I guess it's brackish.
Wow. And so you have anglers coming from all over the world to fish that, huh?
Yeah, we did, and it's a fish I've never fished for, but It was a pretty difficult, but I did okay, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, well, it's always tough to go to a new place, especially one so far away, and fish for something you haven't before.
Yeah, exactly.
But it sounds like an amazing experience to do that. Well, I also see from your Instagram bio that you are the a co-owner of High Five Lures. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's me and my good friend, Finn. We started out by making lures on our own, and then we talked a lot, and we shared ideas and talked about how to do stuff. And then one night we just like, hey, let's just do it, make it all together, like So we agreed on, let's make High Five lures, and that's our little project. So we did that, and now we have it, and we make soft baits and hard lures.
Oh, you make both. And what are the target species for those lures?
That would be pike and perch.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but they catch many different kinds of species out in other countries, like in the States, and we've had some shipped out to Australia and to Finland. That's of course pike too. But yeah, it's funny. It's fun to see the pictures of people's catches.
Oh, I bet that's very rewarding. So, how did you start designing lures? Were you just looking at bait fish, or trying to get different actions? I mean, how did you get into that aspect of it?
It was I think I mean, for me, I started by just trying to make. I wanted to make a lure and try to catch a fish on it. Catch a fish, something I made myself. So I tried that, and I caught a fish.
There's great satisfaction in that.
I mean,
yeah.
It really triggered me, so I had to try to do that again by making another one, making it even better. So I thought about the action of the lure and stuff like that, and yeah, and Finn did that too, just in the other up in another part of the country. Like, we couldn't live further away from each other, actually, which complicates things a bit, but it's okay, and we make it work, no problem. So yeah, it's really fun.
Well, that's awesome. So hopefully we'll be able to post a link to your website there, or maybe Facebook page with some of the lures for people to see. I'm sure everybody would like to see those.
Yeah, I mean, and we ship worldwide, so no problem there. And the soft bait, the awesome. Bait we make, it's like people they find it and they pick one model. I have something called Shed 18, which is a soft bait. And the size and weight of it, if people think that's the right one for their waters, they just contact us on Facebook, and we find out like what kind of pattern or colors would you like, how should it be designed color wise, and then we make it fully on their demand. So that's a nice thing, I think.
I may be getting some new secret lures here to outfish my buddies with.
You should look into that, because it can make a difference.
When we get back, Dennis is going to share an epic pike fishing story with us. Stay tuned. When the bait is thick, any old cast net can get you some bait, but many times the bait are scarce or they're laying low, and there is simply no way you can get at them without a good quality cast net. Unless you're netting in very shallow water, you need a net with a good amount of weight, which is a necessity for getting the net down on the bait quickly. A good quality net will also stand the test of time if it's taken care of properly. For a great value net for the money, check out tell.fish/gear in your web browser.
All right, we're back with Dennis Bombom from Denmark, and I believe the story you're going to tell us today involves some pike.
It does. Yeah, it does. It's pretty much the most, the craziest day in my fishing career by far. So I lived pretty far from this lake I was going to, and I got up very early, packed the kayak, put it on the roof of the car, and then I just headed on south to that lake.
Mm-hmm.
And the target was pike, because there's pretty much only pike there. And and I go out on the water, and the weather's really bad. I don't remember if it's early fall or late. No, I mean early spring or late fall. But I was wearing my dry suit, so it must have been cold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so and I'm fishing, and the fishing is super slow. I don't catch a lot that day.
Mhm.
So I fish around. I catch one fish here and one fish there, but not anything big. And then I get I want to go to another spot, and then halfway there, I decide to stop and try to cast a few. And then I get up. I have a Hobie Pro Angler,
Mhm.
so I can stand and fish from it.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And then I stand there and I feel a strike. Boom! I'm like, whoa, there's a fish. So I throw the lure back out there in the same direction. And then the pike follows all the way up to the kayak and turns around and goes away. And I see then that it's a pretty big fish.
Yeah.
I don't know how you are you in kilo or pounds?
Pounds.
Okay, so I'm in kilos, but it was I thought it was like 7 kilos, which is I think around 14 pounds.
Okay.
And then I think that's a pretty big pike.
Yeah.
So I cast again, and then it's on. So I start the fight, and I'm standing up in the kayak, and I know it's potentially a pretty big fish. So I fight it, and I get it all the way to the kayak, and I'm like, oh my, this is a big fish. And I land it in the net, and I get it up and measure and everything, and it's I don't even remember how long it was, but it was it was 120 centimeters. I don't even know how long that is in your
Right.
measuring.
In arm's width, if you spread your arms apart, how close was it to be in the length of your arms? Probably quite close, right?
Yeah, it was. I don't know exactly, but it's pretty close. It's close to be one of the longest I've ever caught. It was 14 kilos, which is also pretty big. And I think that has to be somewhere around 28 pounds if I just double it.
Okay. Wow.
That was pretty intense right there. And then I was like, wow, that's really that's a big one. I was like, maybe I should just go home because it doesn't get any better. So now I just remember that 120 centimeters is 47 inches.
Okay, so that's 4 feet long. That is a monster.
Yeah, okay, so I got this pike, and I was breathing so fast, so I got dizzy, and I had to sit back down in the kayak to not fall in. Got my I got back together and was really happy, and I continued my fishing. And then after a while, I caught another one, which was really big too. Really big. The same size basically. A bit small, but the same size basically.
Wow.
So that was 2 in one day, which is really crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just how many fish would you say you have to go through to catch just one that size? Probably hundreds, right?
Yeah.
And then to get 2 in a row like that, wow.
Yeah, 2 in one day, that size fishing, the way I do it, like casting,
Mm-hmm.
that's rare.
Oh yeah.
And then on lures, not live bait.
Right. So were you using extra big lures or any kind of a special lure that day, or?
No, not even. I was just like, it was average size casting lure. I think it was maybe something like, I don't know, 5 inches, maybe 6.
So nothing super huge, nothing out of the ordinary for pike fishing.
Nope, not at all.
Wow. And so when you're fishing for these fish, were you fishing a shoreline, with cover and rocks or that kind of thing? Or are you fishing more open water? Where were these fish?
Where I was fishing, it's a lake, but a shallow water lake. So there's nowhere in there where it's deeper than 3 meters, which would be
9-10 feet, something probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that. So, and where both of them was like only 1.5 meter.
Okay. So they were up shallow, and did you catch them pretty close together, or was it a little farther apart?
It was like it was pretty close. But in the first one I got in the first half of the day, and the second one I got like 4 or 5 hours later, maybe.
Okay. And so were the fish, were you catching a lot of smaller pike in between, or was it still a relatively slow bite, but for those 2 massive ones?
It was a pretty slow day. So the average size of the pike that day was pretty big.
Yeah, that's interesting that the fish weren't going crazy or anything, but you had two of them that big, both hitting the same day. That is kind of interesting.
It is. And then, I mean, what makes this day extra wild was that I was out in the kayak.
Oh, yeah, that must have been crazy to try and land those in the kayak like that.
It was. And but I mean, and I even have I was filming because I'm a movie maker. I make vlogs and movies from my fishing.
I was just gonna ask, did you have a GoPro on your helmet or on your fishing hat when this happened?
No, I have them mounted on my kayak. So I actually have a movie from that day where I fish, catch, and land and release those two big pikes.
Oh,
and I think maybe even there's subtitles in English.
Well, I think with fish like that, you don't even need subtitles. It speaks for itself, I bet.
It does.
So
it does.
Are those up and available on the web where people can see them?
It's on YouTube.
Okay, well, cool. Well, we'll definitely want to link to those because I know people are going to want to check those out.
Yeah, I mean, it was intense. That day was intense, and I was alone. Yeah. So when I landed that one, I was like, okay, I have it in my net. I was looking around to see if there was any boats near me that could maybe help me, measure and weigh it.
Yep.
But there were no one. So I was all alone out there.
Just you and those monsters.
Yeah, and I had no one to share my, my catch with,
right.
Which sucks. It's such a truth.
Although you just shared it with all of our listeners, so it's a little bit delayed gratification, but man, that's a great story, and I'm in the videos I'm sure are pretty epic too. So we're excited to share that. Great story, and Dennis, it's just great getting to meet you here and talk with you. I really appreciate you being on the show today.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for letting me.
Oh, absolutely. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Please be sure to follow the Telltale Fisherman on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You'll get sneak peeks of upcoming episodes, notices of new episodes as they go live, and pictures from some of the most epic fishing adventures ever. Check the show notes for details. Thanks!
This has been the Telltale Fisherman podcast. Thanks for sharing another great tale with us. Be sure to check out the show notes page for more info on today's show and the gear we talked about. Keep those lines tight, and we'll catch you next time right here on the Telltale Fisherman podcast.